The stadium was electric. Chatter from fans, the clang of helmets, the rhythmic chant of Roll Tide. It was a kind of Saturday afternoon in college football that felt alive. Number 8 Alabama clashed with number 14 Missouri in a marquee SEC showdown at Memorial Stadium in Columbia, Missouri. The stage was set for fireworks. From the opening kickoff, both sides showed they'd come to fight. Missouri's defense bent but didn't break. Alabama's offense tried to impose its will, and the first quarter unfolded with the back-and-forth tension you expect from ranked teams. But then, late in the first quarter, things turned dark in an instant. Alabama was on offense. Ty Simpson had dropped back, eyes scanning, looking for a target downfield. On the right hash, a freshman wideout, Derek Meadows, broke free on a deep route. Meadows, a 6'5", 212-pound receiver out of Las Vegas, had been quietly working hard, trying to break into the rotation. But he hadn't yet recorded a catch this season. Simpson launched a high pass in Meadows' direction, essentially throwing him open between two Missouri defenders. Meadows, soaring through the air, extended for the ball. But in the split second he peaked and began descending, Missouri safety Marvin Burks Jr. closed fast on the side, firing a shoulder-driven blow into Meadows' torso and head area just as Meadows' feet were coming down. The impact was devastating. Meadows collapsed to the turf, face down, unmoving. His right arm looked awkward, maybe even twisted, and trainers immediately sprinted onto the field. For several long seconds, silence fell. The crowd hushed, commentators paused, and players around him froze in shock. As the medical staff hovered, Meadows lay motionless. You could see the tension in every Alabama fan's face. Coaches and staff from the sideline rushed out, forming a protective circle. It took a while before they were able to sit him up, and more time still before he attempted to walk under his own power. Incredibly with assistance, he slowly rose. Alabama's trainers held him upright, supporting him as he limped toward the sideline. At one point, he gave a thumbs up to the crowd, a small but powerful sign that he might at least have consciousness back and awareness intact. He then walked off the field, helped by trainers, into the tunnel toward the locker rooms. Meanwhile, officials had thrown a flag. After a review, the hit was ruled targeting and Marvin Burks Jr. was ejected from the game. The crowd murmured, divided. Was it a clean hit gone wrong, or a reckless blow that deserved the penalty? The replay angle suggested the contact was to Meadows' upper body and head area, prompting debate about whether the hit went beyond making a legal tackle. In the press box, commentators' tones turned grave. On the field, players from both teams looked shaken. Missouri's sideline was subdued. Their defensive back just removed himself from contention, and the emotional weight of what had happened lingered. Alabama's coaching staff huddled, exchanged concerned glances, and whispered among themselves. The risk of a serious injury had become painfully real. In the stands, Crimson Tide fans held their collective breath. Many prayed. Some cried out when they saw Meadows breathing, trying to rise. It was the kind of moment that transcends the game itself. Once in the locker room, Alabama's medical team worked over Meadows behind closed doors. Reporters waited anxiously. Was he concussed? Did he suffer a spinal injury? A broken bone? No immediate diagnosis was released publicly, but speculation and worry spread fast. Losing Meadows, even though he hadn't yet been a major part of the offense, was a blow psychologically. Alabama's receiving core depth would be tested. Missouri, down a safety, would have to adjust its secondary coverage. The targeting penalty also handed Alabama a favorable spot, new field position deep in Missouri territory. Alabama, sensing momentum, pressed aggressively. They'd been trailing in a tight contest and now had a numerical and emotional edge. The Crimson Tide offense, already potent, dialed up the pressure, trying to exploit the shaken Missouri defense. Missouri, for its part, attempted to regroup. They inserted a backup safety, shuffled coverages, tried to tighten gaps. But losing Burks, a key defensive piece, altered the Tigers' look. Alabama's receivers saw more cushion. The Tigers had to compensate with zone shifts and safety overhangs. Moments like these remind us how fragile the human body is, even in sports built around collisions. Meadows being knocked out or appearing so, is a stark example of risk in football. The targeting rule exists precisely to discourage reckless, violent hits aimed at the head or neck area. When a player is ejected and a hit is penalized as targeting, it sends a message: protect a human being, not just play the game. For Meadows, recovering would become the first priority. Alabama would likely hold him out until cleared. Concussion protocol, imagery scans, medical evaluations. His trajectory as a freshman means this might be a formative test of resilience, character, and health. For Missouri and Burks, the ejection is costly. Losing a starting safety mid-game is a blow to defensive continuity. And for Burks personally, the stigma of targeting lingers. Was it intentional? Was it avoidable? He'll have to live with that in post-game analysis and coaching critique. Broadcasts and social media erupted. Fans replayed the footage. Highlights showed Meadows getting leveled. Lingering camera pans showed stunned teammates. And replays showed angles of the collision. Analysts dissected every frame. Did Burks lead with shoulder or helmet? Was it a launch? Did Meadows' position predispose him to vulnerability? Columns and talk shows debated whether the officiating crew made the correct call. Some argued Missouri's Burks overreached. Others contended it was a tough play in a split second. The eyes of the college football world, already intense in SEC matchups, focused extra hard on this one. Let's imagine how the rest of the game played out in this scenario, somewhat realistically based on trends when teams lose key players. Alabama, riding the emotional surge, likely took control. The offense moved the chains, capitalized on the penalty yardage, and scored. Missouri, forced to adjust, struggled to match the Crimson Tide's tempo and depth. By the fourth quarter, Alabama's advantage would have grown. Maybe Missouri mounted a valiant comeback drive, but fatigue, key injuries, and less cohesion took their toll. Alabama closed it out, perhaps winning by 2 touchdowns or more. Post-game, coaches spoke with solemn respect. Alabama's head coach praised Meadows' toughness, emphasized his health would come first, and thanked the medical staff. Missouri's coach regretted the loss of Burks, said he'd review every angle, and commended his guys for pressuring through adversity. Fans hovered long after the final whistle, discussing that hit more than any touchdown. In bars, social media threads, sports radio, everyone circled back to Meadows' injury, debating safety protocols, the ethics of contact football, and how one collision can ripple through a season. In the days following, Alabama updates would be watched closely. If Meadows were cleared quickly, it would be hailed as a miracle. If sidelined long-term, it might influence depth charts, future game plans, and perhaps recruiting emphasis on physicality and protection. The image of Derek Meadows lying motionless, hit by a vicious blow, brought into sharp focus the fine line that college football walks between athletic spectacle and human fragility. In a high-stakes game like Alabama versus Missouri, players go hard, take risks, and push their bodies. But nothing is worth more than a healthy life beyond the gridiron. This was more than a highlight. It was a sobering reminder. For Meadows, it may be a turning point in his young career. For the sport, a moment to revisit safety, rules, and how to balance intensity with protection. For fans, a sobering heartbeat in the midst of cheers.